Hey everybody, this is Dan. Today I'd like to teach a basic endgame checkmate that's super important to know and also super easy to learn and to master. For those of you who already know how to checkmate with the queen and king against a lone king, you won't need to watch this video. But for those of you who haven't yet learned how to do that, this video will explain it briefly, and then after you go through the process once or twice, I'm confident that you'll already be basically ready to know how to do this and not forget how to do this for the rest of your life as a chess player. So you have to learn it once, and hopefully I can help some of you who haven't yet done so learn how to do this. So you'll see that I've put the king on d1 and the queen on e1 and black's king on d5 centralized. So black will try the best that black can to keep the king in the center, and white's task is to force the king towards the edge of the board, and in this case the plan in this particular example is to force the king towards the h8 corner. Now that's not the only way that you can execute this mate, but you can kind of decide beforehand where you want the king to go, and then the queen is actually able to kind of shepherd the king towards that spot by herself without the king's help because she's so powerful, and then the king kind of comes in afterwards to finish the checkmate. So the move that I've set as the first move is queen to b4, and you'll see that the queen is positioned a knight's move away from the king. And this is a perfect placement for the queen because it restricts the king from c5, from c4, from d4, and from e4, which forces the king to move either up or move right. And either way, the king is one step closer to that h8 corner. So in this case, I have the king moving to e5, trying to stay centralized. And very simply, the queen just stays a knight's move away from the king and moves to c4, forcing the king to give a little more ground. So if the king, for example, goes to f5, white continues queen to d4. And now if the king decides to step back to the 6th rank with a move like king to e6, now white still wants to maintain this knight's distance from the king. So white can play queen to c5, and then you'll see it continues like this: king to f6, queen maintains that knight's distance, queen to d5, king to e7, queen to c6, king to f7, queen to d6, king to e8, queen to c7, king to f8, queen to d7, king to g8, queen to e7, and now the king is actually forced into the corner by king to h8, at which point you have to be very careful as white. If you were to play the queen to f7 here, this would actually result in a stalemate and a draw, because black is not in check but has no legal moves. So at this point you have to just leave your queen where she is, because the queen is perfectly placed on e7 and the king still has a square on g8 that's available. So at this point, what you want to do is bring your king closer. So the king starts to march up the board, and you'll see that the black king will just shuttle back and forth between g8 and h8. King comes closer, the black king shuttles, and it continues like this until white is able to move the king up in checkmating distance. After black makes the only legal move, white has the choice of checkmates, one of which is queen to g7, and the other possible ones are queen to d8 would be checkmate as well, and queen to e8 would be checkmate as well. And so you'll see that once the king comes in, there's really no defense for black. So the first goal is to force the king to the corner, after which the king comes in, and then the queen and king combine to checkmate the black king. So this is a checkmate it's really easy to learn. Anyone can learn it. It just takes a little bit of concentration and practice, and then you've got it mastered for good. And you will have this happen to you in real game situations, because either you will end up with a queen and king against a king, or in a king and pawn endgame, you may end up promoting a pawn to a queen, and you need to know how to perform this checkmate without, for example, stalemating black. So you don't want to draw when you have a queen and a king against a king. You want to make sure you know how to force the checkmate. So it's good to know. So hopefully I was able to share some important information with some of you, and really appreciate you taking the time to watch. And I will continue making videos, and just want to say thank you and take care. Bye.